Welcome to Pushing Forward with Alicia, a podcast that gives disability a voice. Each week, we will explore topics like confidence, ambition, resilience, and finding success against all odds. We are creating a collective community that believes that all things are possible for all people. Open hearts, clear paths, let's go.
Welcome back to Pushing Forward with Alicia. We did it, community. This episode, we are reaching 100 episodes. We're also closing out and celebrating Disability Pride Month. They somehow are coinciding together. What a perfect marriage and celebration that we're going to have today on this episode. Nothing that we planned, but sometimes the stars come together. Thank you for showing up for our 100th episode and for being here along the way during this beautiful journey, which is quite an accomplishment. So thank you and welcome back to everybody who's tuning in. Of course, I invited the person who's been there since day one, my favorite person, my partner, and the podcast producer of the show, Marty Anderson, to join me for this extra special recording of the show. Welcome back, Marty.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's so nice to be here. What an exciting episode and what a special thing to celebrate today. Let's go.
I can't believe it. We've gone from literally recording at a kitchen table, not knowing how to use a mic, how to figure out technology, how we're going to even produce this thing, to 2 years later, we have 100 episodes. We are in, 1,500 plus cities, 70 plus countries around the world. We've hosted nearly 80 to 90 amazing guests. We've shared 45 plus hours of stories and focused on a mission that has been giving disability a consistent voice in popular culture, which was part of our goal. What an incredible ride this has been for you and I together.
You can say that 1,000 times. Yeah, it's been really exciting learning about all the things that it takes to do podcasting. And wow, where do we start?
It's been our goal to literally give disability a voice, create space and conversations about disability regularly every single week. And I think we've done a pretty good job of showing up doing that, having very diverse conversations with incredible guests from all kinds of backgrounds with all kinds of different disabilities that have done amazing things in the world. And I just thought today it would be fun to celebrate that, celebrate the hard work, the sweat and the tears, the joy and the fun that this podcast has brought, and the impact, honestly. And maybe we could just pull the curtains back a little bit, talk about the show, talk about some of our favorite moments, talk about this month. We've had an incredible month. It's Disability Pride Month, which is a month that we're lifting up people with disabilities and our accomplishments and our struggles and the history that we've made and all of the things. And we just got off of 10 events and we've got a lot going on this month. So I think that we just break down all of that for our community and dive in there.
Yeah, and I love how you started that we wanted to start this podcast by giving disability a voice. And how that relates to disability pride is so important. And all the work that we've done in traveling all around the country and the guests that we've had with the variety of different disabilities, Ehlers-Danlos, stuttering, vitiligo, mental health, just on and on, right? Profound deafness. And look at our list of guests and you just get blown away with all the topics that we've brought to the table. Politics, education, products, services, professionals in business, inside and out of the industry, and just the different conversations.
And also, that's not fun, but fun stuff too, like dancers and singers and comedians and
manufacturers and welders, founders of sport, and just really cool stuff.
It's interesting to see what we pull out. It can shows the difference. And I'm not trying to do male versus female, but you can see that we are offering a blend of topics and interest points for our community.
Let's not forget, one of the children of the founders of the internet.
I know, it just keeps going on and on. When you start to look back at all of these episodes, it really is like we wanted it to be diverse, and it has so many intersectional layers of diversity, not just disability, but race and talents and background and socioeconomic and just all of the things. So cool to look back and see that beautiful just uniqueness of each episode, and that we really are offering something for everyone depending on what your interests might be. So I think that just proved it, kind of debating what were most interesting to each other.
It has been a beautiful mosaic of conversations that we've brought to, and I commend you on that, because having to get in there and day after day have these conversations, prepare for these things and get ready all throughout the day on top of all the other things that running the Alicia Anderson company business, and the speaking and the interviews and the article and engagements.
And the hustle to book guests, but that has gotten a lot easier over the last year specifically. We have so many requests coming in from advocates and other disabled people or their allies and organizations that want to come on the pod. That hustle of me, like, who we're going to find, who we're going to book, who we're going to find, has slowed down immensely, which is probably speaks volumes to the adoption of the show and us getting it out there and getting enough exposure on it now that we're having leads come in, and there's some significant interest in the show, and it's been really exciting, which has been the goal, right? To expand this as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, we're still learning a lot every single day when it comes to this podcast, but we are doing a great job of bringing the excitement. And I agree, we get a lot of traction. People are wanting to sign up and share their stories. Of course, we are always looking for those special moments and tying our own story a little bit and wanting to share with the community. There's so many different layers to this at the Pushing Forward with Alicia podcast.
Yeah, there is an appetite for us to be sharing our stories more. We can see that in the numbers too. So to our community out there, we're noting that, and we're going to have more of that coming up in this next 100 episodes for sure. Marty, let me ask you a question. When I first said, let's start a podcast, what went through your head immediately? Be honest.
Yes, let's do it. I'm a big fan of doing the podcast from the start. I think it's a huge way for us to archive what we've been doing. A huge reason we started all of this stuff was our love for each other, our love for our community, and our want to help people get as far as they can in life, and to put our experiences from little children having to go through elementary school to high school and grow up and everything and face everything. Now we're 50 and we've had so many experiences. And the idea here is we wanted to share. And the podcast was just a natural way for us to do that. And the beauty of it is we're making more friends all the time. And we've had hundreds and hundreds of great friends. Right? We can't have everybody on, but we're going to keep trying.
We've had a lot of people on, and it was an easy progression, like you said, to go from what we do in our business, speaking and workshops and all those things, to creating a podcast. But I wouldn't say this was a natural process of becoming good at this. And I wouldn't say that I've been comfortable. I mean, it took me a good probably year, honestly, to get comfortable and get my groove on and how to become a good host and really produce something that, like, we've got our own vibe. I wanted to ask you what you thought of way back when we said, let's start a podcast, and what were you honestly thinking when we embarked on this journey?
Yeah, the idea came about to start a podcast. I remember as we were a couple of years into the speaking full time, and we were doing very well. We were making huge impact. We were adding big logos to your portfolio. We were traveling a lot all over the country. And we began to think, hey, what a better way to bring that regular conversation of disability on a weekly basis to our audience than to start sharing it on a weekly basis. And There were so many ideas in our heads floating around. I think we were thinking, hey, if we can do this, we can share our story and eventually write a book about us and do all kinds of things and really ambitious goals. Is that kind of what you remember?
Yeah, I remember being excited and nervous and unsure, to be honest with you. But we just had this goal of how do we reach more than the stages that we're invited on? How do we get past 100 people, 500 people, 1,000 people to really get the message out there? And I had no thought, ambition, or even could conceive that we would make it to 100 episodes. So that's a pretty big accomplishment in itself.
Yeah. I remember it took almost 3 months for us to get that first episode out as we were gearing up with our team and trying to figure out the processes and working on the cover art and getting the feed set up and beginning all those early stage things. Podcasts sound like an easy project, but they're really pretty difficult. We were figuring out the microphones and the setups. It's changed over and over again as we've gone through the process. Long ways from episode number 1.
Yeah, I remember how nervous I was to kick off the first episode, and honestly, how long it took me to get comfortable as an interviewer, the host of this show, and the face of it, because it's definitely a different talent than speaking on stages. It was a labor of love, honestly, one that was difficult for me at first and was like, I don't know if I'm going to actually love this. So again, to get to 100 episodes is actually mind-blowing.
Yeah,
Good.
I remember those first couple episodes we had designed as like an intro. This is who I am. This is what I do. It's got to be so fun to get some time for us to go back and listen to that episode. I think it's well overdue for a remake.
I was just thinking that 2 years ago, who I am, who you were, who our business is, even who this podcast was, is changed and grown and become more than we were back then. Not more than we were, but I know for me, I'm just way more settled and confident in my space and what I'm doing from a business standpoint, from a speaker standpoint, and definitely from a podcaster standpoint. So I think you're right. I think we should do a reintroduction episode. Maybe we kick off 101 with that,
I think
because
the idea.
a lot has happened in the last 2 years. We've spoken to almost probably 100 companies within that time span and 100 episodes. There's been a lot going on, a lot of conversations, a lot of new relationships that we've built, and a lot of learning along the way that has been pretty incredible.
Yeah, and I just want to say that this is a beautiful thing for us to sit down and stop working for an hour, have a conversation with one another. I can't believe that we got to do it over the internet through 2 different internet devices and all these things, even though we're in the same house, to sit here. We really don't get that opportunity a lot. This is wonderful. And I think that the podcast is one element of the growth you were talking about. And you mentioned growing through the business and all of these things. I have a good question for you. What has been the hardest technology to learn and implement in all that you're doing?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think there's one answer to that question. I think the hardest part about technology for me, because I'm not as technical as you are, is finding a way to make them seamless together and to not have to go in and out of platforms to get a task done. And I don't think we're quite there yet, to be honest with you. But I also would not be able to do this job without technology. So I think we're constantly improving that, and I'm becoming better, but we both know that I'm not all that strong at tech. I just hand it off to you and have you handle it. And
I may cut in for a second. I want to actually commend you on your technical talents because you don't give yourself enough credit. You do so many different programs throughout the day, whether it's the emails, the interfaces for online meetings, the portals to get payments through all these big time customers, all of the different tools. And now we're working into getting our first employees onboarded and working towards this. Business really is a nonstop nonstop thing. We went through the certifications. We've gotten our SBA small business approvals. We've become now women certified for you. The list goes on. And this isn't our only venture.
So let's circle back to the podcast, because that's what we're here to talk.
Okay,
I feel like we've got it. Things are going good.
They've been going fantastic. And you are a perfect host for a podcast show. You bring such light, such positivity. You have such a beautiful life just in general. And I think that captivates guests, and as it has captivated me my whole life. I love you, sweetheart.
I love you too. And speaking of, I have a producer question for you. Producing the show. And tell the truth.
Okay, you
Really like to be producing a podcast for your wife?
Whoa. What's it like to be producing a podcast for my wife? Well, we work so hard and we're doing so many different things here that we don't get off in a lot of great conversation because we just want to watch TV at the end of the day. And so, I can't say that we don't, but this is just another layer of getting to enjoy my wife on a super level, because I get to dive into the psyche of you and the interviewer and analyze all the data after it's been collected and try to clean it up, put it in the form, and make everything look super great, because all I want to do is make our community look great, you look great, and everybody have a good positive look, good message. I spend hours and hours on it every week. Each one of these episodes I've produced, I think I'm getting close to 30 or 40 of them on my own, and, been a part of first, 60 or whatever too. I can't wait for us to really get to a place where we blow this a little more and get some nicer equipment, some different environments, maybe do some live, maybe do some premieres where we can have our audience tied in. I want to start pushing towards polling and getting engagement and really driving our audience to help us help build this message. We've tried, and working all the time trying to start uniting our movement so that we can really drive for good change. And it's helping us drive the next conversation even better. And we're hoping that we're just, doing a good job of representing for our community a lot, really.
I think tying in our audience and our community questions, comments, topics, things like that is a great new layer to add onto the show that we should definitely figure out how to do that. So we'll launch that soon. I love that idea. You love producing the show and that we get to work on these things together. It is pretty amazing. We were just in DC for a really cool event that was called Wawa Ability, and had never been there before. And Marty and I have been, since we started this business almost 5 years ago, this adventure, whether it's through the podcast or through speaking or through, create shops and delivering those to companies. And we've traveled all over the world, and we have had the opportunity to be in front of so many different people, and we get to go to these places. And because we've created this lived experience that we're on constantly, we've just been on this adventure of exploration and seeing and experiencing not only the world and not only accessibility, but also people in different communities, whether it's on this podcast or traveling. And so I think what we've created in our partnership has been really powerful and rewarding, not only for the work, but for us. Do we have hard moments? Yeah. You and I know how to debate with the best of them. But those great debates that we have sometimes are made out of our deep love and passion, not only for each other, but for the work that we're doing and for our audience and for our community. And so hopefully we're producing an platform that is really helpful for the world.
Yeah, I think that there's no doubt that we are doing that in some way, shape. We love feedback that we have received through our contact form, or emails, through social media, through all the other different avenues of, and to do that and hear that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much to our audience. But I have another question for you. So do 2 questions, one at a time. And you can only give me one answer, because I know, and our listeners know, that you like to list off long lists of things. So I'm going to challenge you to give me one answer. Can you pick one guest who surprised you the most or that had major impact, that was kind of like rising star, that we did this episode and we look back and it not only like from a listener standpoint, but it really just a shining star of an episode?
Wow. A lot of people come flying through my head as I listen to that. And there's so many great episodes here now. And one of the best that I remember has been, I would say, Christopher Tejada and his incredible story of immigration and all the overcomings and then getting to Netflix. I think that his story just had so many layers of intersection and struggle. It was really great. Also, Samuel Briggs and the youngster coming up, overcoming all of the challenges that he's facing and doing things to remind me of all the struggles of growing up. Who can't forget Isaac Harvey, Mr. MB himself, gone international from country to country and all the exciting things that he's doing. So, what about you? What was your favorites?
So that was 3. The person that comes to mind right now for me is Alycia Yoder. She is a photographer and she came on the show to talk about her disability, but she has some pieces of her disability that she'd never spoken out loud about before. And she did not talk about it on my show, but her and I have similar silent disabilities that we've kept kind of quiet. And we really connected before the interview and we talked about it. And she said, I have this. And I was like, oh my God, I do too. And we really connected on some pretty personal things. And after the show, over this like last year, she's not only come out to talk about her disability and that some of these really personal things, like on major interviews like Good Morning America or something. Like she had a huge interview and she ripped off the Band-Aid on this interview and became really brave. And I think it was because of finding community in something that she and I both have been very quiet about. And I still am, to be honest with you. But she got really brave after this interview, and now she's speaking on stages, and she's got this beautiful picture book that's coming out. That all was happening before the episode, but I just saw her really become brave after her and I had our conversation. And I'm not taking credit for it at all, but it did show me that how coming together as a community and finding somebody who really understands what's going on helps us grow into our power. And that is what this podcast is about, is allowing each of us to find some sense of community so we don't feel like we're alone and can find power in the space. So that's the one that I'm thinking of right now. Hard to pick one, but I am going to stick to one.
There's been beautiful stories and there's been a lot of sharing of. I remember one of our early episodes with Ryan Mason and her journey with Ehlers-Danlos as a nurse and learning to cope with and prove to her coworkers that she could still do her job as the degeneration occurred. And then Jonathan Goodwin, how he went through that tragic accident on AGT, just freshly willing to share his story and talk about how it is to overcome, learn what are the things you need when you become disabled. And it's literally been just so many great episodes, people sharing. Jesse Scott, Chelsea Hill, and we've had family on. What else are we going to jump into?
Okay. So we talked about favorite episode and where we thought that there was big impact there from the stories, which it's hard to just say one, I know. But what about listener impact, our community, the ones that are showing up episode by episode every single week? What is some email or comment or DM that we've received that has been the driver, right? Our community is the driving force to continue to do this, to continue to do the work that it takes to put this podcast on.
Mhm.
Is there any feedback from our community that is able to light the fire of keeping this podcast going? Can you think of anything? Or do you want me to start?
Well, this is where I have kind of admit that I don't do much social media, and I kind of just stick to myself on the programming side of things. And so I don't get to see a lot of the huge feedback, but I do get the testimonials and things coming in through our business associates and the forums that I've built. And we've had some people that have been excited. And I do have something to share with you at the end of this episode. I want to share with you that I've been kind of orchestrating a little thing behind your back and asked some of the guests who've been on here to share a bit of kind words and things. So we'll throw that in at
Oh,
the end of the episode and you'll be happy to, but there's so many good impacts and so many things that I don't know, babe. For me, it's had a passion to help no matter when. It hasn't been one thing that some person has said. It's always been this inner driven thing within inside of me that just says, hey, help others. It's a good thing to do.
yeah, that's true. That is very true. But I can solve a few things.
Cool. Let it rip.
Oh, we've gotten so many amazing DMs and pieces of email that are supporting this podcast. And for me, those are the things, even when I'm on stage, I think my love language might be affirmation. I'm sure. But when somebody says, I never knew there was content out there like this until I found your podcast, or now I'm not afraid to grow up disabled because I saw you speak, or I've never seen representation that I can follow until I found your platform. Like those things are worth their weight in gold to me because it means it's validating to me that the things that we're doing is helping, it's working. It's while I'm out on an island so lonely all the time working in my entrepreneurial land. So each time we have one of these things, like the podcast is like a warm hug. Your guests bring so much light to topics that in society are typically put in a category of limitation or less than. And the fact that the show lifts up the possibility of the disabled lived experience is really powerful and is validating for me to receive the amount of DMs that we get and feedback. So I just want to thank our community. You are the ones that are making this show possible. And we're super, super grateful that you're showing up, that you're sharing, that you're being. And the more that you do that, the more it grows and we continue on.
Speaking of accolades, I have one for you right now.
Okay, I knew you would figure out something.
Okay, well, this one comes in from one of your previous guests. It was a great pleasure to be invited by Alicia to join her podcast and talk about my international leadership journey. What stands out about Alicia's podcast versus the thousands of others out there is her genuine ability to connect with people, to bring their stories and their personal challenges to light. She is truly an advocate for the diversities we all bring to this world, which makes this world a better place. Kristen Anderson, advisory board member, former D&I officer and CEO.
Oh, that was so sweet. Her episode was great.
I really loved her episode. That brought such a great conversation for women in our community that are looking to lead and aspire and grow and get to bigger places in their careers and have that confidence and reach for their dreams and not be afraid of being who they are at the workplace. What a conversation. And you get those on a daily or on social media, and people are giving you a lot of love. And if I spent all the time reading all that stuff like you do, I wouldn't get anything else done.
Well, I have a question for you.
What's up?
It's a question to have some reflection as we're getting towards the end of this episode.
Okay.
It's Disability Pride Month. And somehow this 100th episode ends up landing on the last Thursday of Disability Pride Month when we launch. And it's so fitting and it's so beautiful that it worked out that way. And as we're wrapping up Disability Pride Month, as we're celebrating this 100th episode of this beautiful show and community that we have created, that we are actively creating and growing, what does disability pride mean to you in all of that, like coming together in one moment, which is right here and now?
Yeah, we did a disability pride episode last year also, if you remember, and we've discussed this many times. And with all the things that we've been through this month, and you asked this question that has been asked in interview after interview that we've had leading up to this 100th episode. So as a culmination of all these episodes, couldn't be wrapped up better than the very last episode we just had with Jonathan Kaufman, talking about disability pride and this becoming of acceptance in ourselves, this becoming to expect more from ourselves, the becoming of learning to grow with who we are and to be happy with who we are. I loved how he said that. And disability pride is just so many different things. Just a year or two ago, I was looking and trying to find pride events. And this year, you're getting alerts of, hey, we're putting on a pride event here. We're putting on a disability pride event there. And so we need more of that. We need more growth. We need more talking about it. Alicia, what do you think about the coincidence that the 100th episode would land on the last Thursday of Disability Pride Month?
I think it's amazing timing, almost like it was meant to be. And also, may I add one more thing? It's also landing like 3 days or so after we just celebrated the 35th anniversary of the ADA. And I think if I could use a word that Warren Snipe, Wawa, used when he was on our show a few episodes ago, and I asked him what these pivotal times mean to him, he signed, because he is deaf and he uses ASL to communicate. He said that it's a transformative time, and he signed it and it looked like this, and me signing one hand over the other, transforming. And I think that this transformation means where we're in a period where deep beliefs about something are changed and they progress and we understand things differently. And I think that's what Pushing Forward with Alicia podcast does. I think that's what Disability Pride is. And I think that's what our community and our world Lifting Up the Americas with Disabilities Act is. It's a coming together, a transformation of the old theories that disability is limiting and pushing that towards being proud of who we are in the way that we are, which is something that I say on this podcast all the time. But the fact that all of these things have come together in this moment for us, for our community, is quite beautiful. And I think right now in this moment, as we're celebrating 100 episodes, it's not just a celebration. It's a call to action. It's a call to action for all of us to show up together, to show up bolder, to support each other, to band together tighter, and to try to transform this movement more than we ever have before. And I think this podcast, among so many other things that are out there, are one of the catalysts that can do it. So I'm really proud of our first 100 episodes, and I'm very excited to see where our next 100 will take us. And it's been a great experience partnering with these things with you.
Thank you. That's amazing. It has been a great partnership for sure. And this transformation that you talk about is definitely happening all around us in many facets of our lives. We've grown as a marriage, as adults, as business people. We've grown in our trade, in our advocacy for sure.
Okay, so I have one more question. What are we hoping for the next 100 episodes?
Geez, I don't know. The next 100 episodes could be a big surprise for both of us. I hope we have the strength to carry on. I hope that the guests keep pouring in. I hope that we can just continue this conversation because it is so vital for our community, for us, and all the things. What do you think?
I think the sky's the limit. I think we're just getting started. And I think there's a lot more stories to tell, a lot more representation to show, and a lot more love to give. So I think the future is bright. Will be challenging at times, but for the most part, we have a lot of fun and we're building a beautiful community, which I'm so grateful for everybody for.
And to follow with a question, in a dream world, where would you see this podcast go? What would be the ultimate goals and things that happen?
My ultimate goal is that this podcast becomes the Mel Robbins podcast of disability inclusion advocacy, that people are tuning in every day because they can't get enough of us, and to the stars of impact.
Yeah, I'd love to see that happen too. And at 100 episodes, I think that it's important for us to do a little bit of self-advocacy in this episode and let everyone know that, as we've stated before throughout the episode, we're learning here still. We're still building this system, and we're looking for support and we're looking for help. And what we mean by that is title sponsors, episode sponsors, people that want to advertise on the podcast. Reach out to us. We're going to start putting out some links and some information on how to connect with us on this. Check it out and maybe support us on the next 100 episodes.
And reviews and likes and subscribes always help. So please share the show with your friends. All right, Marty, what is your pushing forward moment to wrap up our 100th episode of Pushing Forward with Alicia?
There's a lot of pushing forward moments now collected with 100, or this will be the 100th. And let's see, it's definitely tough sometimes in this world. And that's why we have these pushing forward moments, is because it is tough. So when all the wind seems to be in your face and the road just seems to be nothing but uphill, just try to reflect on your worth in this world. You're worthy of living, you're worthy of breathing, that you're worthy of experiencing this life just like everyone else. Take solace in the fact that you count, and all you have to do is keep trying. No matter what you're trying to accomplish, no matter what you're trying to be, the world, this life that we live, is full of another opportunity, the next chance. So keep trying. Don't ever give up. You're never out of the game. Keep pushing forward. How about you, Alicia? What would you like to say as a pushing forward moment for the 100th episode?
I would like to just say thank you so much to our community and to every single guest that has given us time and space on this podcast. Every single solitary one of you, I personally have learned from, have grown from, and have become stronger in my own advocacy, because I feel the immense amount of community that we have built over this last 100 episodes. And please stay with us. We appreciate you. We see you. And we're literally doing this for you. And my pushing forward moment is grateful. I'm grateful. I lead with gratitude. And we'll see you for the next 100 episodes. This has been Pushing Forward with Alicia and Marty. And that is literally how we roll on this podcast. We'll see you next time.
Happy 100.
Hi, Alicia. Hi, Marty.
Hey, Alicia. It's Miracle.
It's Dustin and Pino.
Congratulations on episode 100.
Alicia and Marty, you should be so incredibly proud of what you have created and how it has grown.
So I really appreciate Alicia.
You are such a trailblazer in the disabled community and such a badass in all that you do. You have the best heart and best soul that I've ever seen in anybody.
Congratulations on your 100th episode.
You just completed episode 100. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Oh my gosh, Alicia, this is amazing. What an accomplishment.
Congratulations on your 100th episode of your podcast. I am so beyond proud of you and so thankful to be on your podcast this year.
Happy 100th episode. You should be incredibly proud of yourself.
Congratulations on 100 episodes of Pushing Forward with Alicia. Love you so much.
Happy 100th episode of Pushing Forward with Alicia. Here's to the next 100 more. Congratulations.
And congrats to 100 episodes, and here is to 100 more.
Continue to do wonderful and amazing work. You're the best.
I wish you 100 more episodes to come.
Let's do a blended family part 2. Love you.
Thank you for being you. I'm so beyond grateful for all that you do.
So thank you for having me on the show.
Keep being you, girl.
Keep it up. Keep pushing forward.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much for inspiring me and reminding me to push forward.